I've been calling CQ since 1107, and as I say, it probably just wants a little bit of calibration. You know, the mechanical dial, I've got to read in it, but the outer ring, you hold it still while tuning in. Now, you tune it up on a 25 kilohertz marker, and it's something that I never did because I've used it on 80 meters, I've used it on 20 meters and 40 meters, and each time I've calibrated it. And today I was on the TS-520. I heard the beacon on there, did a little video of it. Then I did a video of the beacon on this radio, and then I did the video of the beacon on the Lincoln. So the beacon, which was coming out of Madrid, I was getting on all three radios, and with that I tuned a bit. I've got Echo Alpha 3 AQ, what's his name, Geordie, AQR, but what happened was he couldn't hear me on the Lincoln because I was /QRP, and he said a couple of times, the station calling, you're very, very weak, I can't hear you properly. With that, I switched to the 520, went straight from 80 meters to 10 meters, set up the transmit and everything, and with that I went to call him and he went, no stations heard, I'm going QRT. I thought, oh, how's me luck? And with that, at that point, because I just like swung him in on the dial and didn't actually like take any notice of the dial per se, yeah, it was just like just swing the dial roughly until I heard him. Then I was going to go back to him, but by the time I'd finished faffing around setting up me transmit side of things, using the load plate and drive and all the rest of it, by the time I'd done that, he'd obviously thought, well, no one's coming back to me now, and so I knocked it back onto his frequency. I didn't tune up all over the top of him, knocked it back to his frequency, and then he was gone, unfortunately. And as I say, it was at that point I never then recalibrated the dial for accurate frequency. So when I put it on 445 upper sideband, obviously I was 500 hertz off. But apart from that long waffle, that long over, you're 5 and 9 plus 20 to me on this radio, Mal, sounding really good, and I'm videoing this one as well. So you sound the best you've ever sounded on this radio, mate. Back to you.
Yeah, I'm on the CJX 1200 this morning, so it's nice to have the change, isn't it? I'm guessing then, Mark, lovely bit of kit it is. They don't make it anymore, and I wonder how many they sold if you got to keep faffing around like that, Mark. Oh, God. I want to switch it on, turn the power up, and transmit. I don't want to play and load everything. I'm dyslexic, for God's sake, aren't I?
Yeah, Roger, mate, I know what you're saying. G1NOX M0JCF. Yeah, well, the thing is, Mal, all valve and hybrid radios, well, hybrid on the transmit, they're all the same, aren't they? You know, you can't just switch them on. I mean, you can, obviously, if you was on 40 meters, switch it off, come back the next day, switch it on again, and you're pretty much going to be okay. I mean, they might need a little bit of tweaking because the temperature changes and everything. But do you know what? You say that, Mal, you know, just want to switch it on, etc. But that's not why I bought this rig. I bought this rig because you have to mess around. You know, it's a learning process, isn't it? It's like anything, you know. You get something new, whether it's old or whatever, and you have to sort of read the manual and everything. But once you get there, you know, once you've faffed around for like, yeah, I mean, I could tune this in now pretty confidently. I can get it tuned within 30 seconds. Now, I'm never in that much of a rush that I've got to switch a rig on and suddenly talk to someone there and then, especially if I'm CQing. Obviously, it's a moot point. But, you know, if there was a rush, if it was like somebody said, oh, some really rare DX or some other nonsense like that, then I'd put on the 590 and just try and work the DX that way. But for CQing, this rig's lovely. It's running about, I mean, this is on 10 meters, Mal. It's running about 130 watts at the moment, only because conditions on 10 weren't brilliant. I mean, listening to them on the other radios, the signals weren't massive, and there was lots of QSB. I didn't think the opening would last that long. I heard a couple of EAs. I heard a 9 Alpha, Croatia. I heard a UK station, don't know where he was, but he was working the 9 Alpha. And did I hear any Italians? No, which was unusual, especially if you're hearing 9 Alphas. I mean, it's right close, isn't it, to Italy? But no, the load plate drive, and you have to set the carrier, mic gain, and God knows what else. And you have to switch between tune, CW, and then whether you're working LSB, USB. You've got to set the ALC, and you've got to set the plate current. Now, the plate current is quite important, because obviously you get that wrong, either A, you don't put out any power, or if you get it wrong the other way, you end up cooking the valves to death in short order. So yeah, getting back to what you just said, and obviously this was a long ramble to give you really a short answer. I actually like the faffing around. I mean, you know me, Mal, the amount of old rigs that I've got. You know, I've got rigs that, like that 2 meter band rig that I bought from the Silent Key sale. You know, it's got 2 usable channels. Out of the 5 transmit crystals in there, 2 of them are usable simplex. You got the calling channel and then 575. But I love using it. You know, it's that little 1 watt portable rig with the you know, with the homebrew linear amplifier and that. And I just enjoy it. You know, I enjoy the old kit. I mean, the new kit's nice. It's nice, as you say, to just flick it on and away you go. But, you know, sometimes it ain't all about that. You know what I'm like. I'm a bit of a magpie for old rubbish and stuff like that. So after that long monologue, back to you, G1NOX M0JCF.
JCF, I'm back on the FT1 again with the MD1. Hang on, the 4 meter rig is clicking in, can't have that. Don't like the band much anyway, but yeah, you're sounding good on here, and the frequency readout is spot on. It sounds great, Mark, but as you know, this is solid state as well as the 767, so I don't like the faff. You do. I like old kit, but I don't like all that plate and load stuff, and it perplexes me a little bit. But being dyslexic and dyspraxic, it's hard to get used to. I know I would after a while, but I think to myself, do I really want to fuck around with this? No, CQs, you know what I mean? Anyway, you're sounding really good on the ST1 as well as on the 1200, Mark, no?
Yeah, hello, man. Well, on the FT1, you're 509 plus 30, and but the modulation isn't as smooth, isn't as mellow as the more modern rig. I mean, we expect that as well. It's almost like you're giving it a little bit too much microphone, so maybe a little bit too much gain. In fact, this came up the other night. I was on the top band net on this radio with Cray Valley, and they said I was a little bit over the top, because obviously we're ground wave. Look, I'm going to knock off the processor now. Okay, that's without the processor. Do I sound any different without the processor? Now, they told me on top band, I did actually sound a lot cleaner on the top band with the processor off, and that's probably because we're close and it's ground wave, etc. For distance, the processor's probably great, you know, for DX, for skip, the processor's probably great. So do I sound any better, different, or worse now that the processor's off? And just for a comparison, just to let your ear holes get back in tune, this is with the processor back on. So I've got the mic processor back on. Of course, the other thing I could do as well is back off the microphone slightly. Back to you.
Okay, right. With the processor off, you're loud, but with the processor on, you're really, really punchy, and you would be heard. Right, I'm back on quarter mic gain, Mark. I'm on the MD1. I'm just quarter mic gain, and what we got here? About half compression, over.
Yeah, that's lost. It's very, very slight, ragged edge, if that's the best way to explain it. But that's just my ear rolls using this radio, Mal. It's, as I say, you're just very, very slightly improvement in as much as you're not so raspy. That's the best way to say it. It's almost like, yeah, you was giving it too much microphone, and I would say that's really, really quite nice now, back to you.
If I put the standard microphone on rather than the MD1, that would have probably been fairly acceptable, but this is a different animal altogether, and I can see the way it's peaking up on the ALC, that it's behaving itself nicely. So I've turned the compression down to about, let me see, I've got a quarter mic going now, so I've turned that back a little bit. And the compression is around about a third. So you need that to make it drive. But nevertheless, if I put the hand mic on, it will be a different story again. So that's how it is. I quite like how it's sounding with the processor off from your end of the RF path mark. And if you was calling DX and the conditions were a little less favourable, that would make it favourable. M0JCF G1NOX.
Yeah, G1NOX M0J.
Right. There was on the 60 metres, there was right, got it. The Thorpe Abbott's Memorial Museum. Obviously, I think it's an airbase, an old RAF airbase. Oh yeah, the 100th Bomb Group Memorial Museum. Yeah, up in Dis. So up there in Norfolk, Suffolk, I think it is Dis. They were operating 60 metres, 5.403. That was one of the things that prompted me to actually come on the radio this morning. I saw that post. I thought to myself, I'll try and work that museum on 60 metres, but I couldn't hear them at all. They've just gone to 7.165. So what I might do, I might go to 40 metres, retune, and just see if I can hear them on 7.165. I think the skip will be too short on 40 metres for them to actually reach us. I think their skip will just go over our heads. But I'm just going to go and have a quick sniff on 7.165.